The bridge of the HFY warship Blood Talon buzzed with excitement. War Captain Zexthul leaned forward in his command chair, his yellow eyes fixed on the sensor display. His sharp claws tapped against the metal armrest as he studied the readings. Confirm. The scan, he growled to his sensor operator. The younger Kethvar's ears flattened against his skull as he double-checked his instruments. Confirmed, War Captain. Single vessel, human design. No escort ships detected within 3 light hours. The ship appears to be a cargo hauler, modified for long-range transport. Zexthul's lips pulled back in what passed for a smile among his species, revealing rows of sharp teeth. Around the bridge, his crew shared excited glances. A lone human ship was like finding a treasure chest floating in space. Distance to target? Zexthul asked. 200,000 kilometers and closing, sir. They haven't detected us yet. The war captain stood and walked to the main view screen, through the swirling gases of the Terminus Nebula. He could barely make out the distant speck of the human vessel. It looked small and helpless against the cosmic backdrop. Signal the pack, he ordered. All ships maintain stealth approach. I want them surrounded before they know we're here. 5 other HFY warships moved through the nebula like shadows. Each ship carried enough firepower to level a small city. Together they formed one of the most feared pirate fleets in this sector of the galaxy. For 3 years they had hunted merchant vessels along the trade routes, and no prey had ever escaped them. Humans were always the best targets. Unlike the warrior races like the Saldeth or the technology-obsessed Vexni, humans seemed to care more about staying alive than fighting back. They would surrender quickly, hand over their cargo, and sometimes even thank their captors for sparing their lives. It was almost too easy. War Captain, his communications officer called out. We're receiving a transmission from the human vessel. Put it through. The main screen flickered and the image of a human female appeared. She looked to be middle-aged by human standards, with short brown hair and dark eyes. Her uniform was simple and practical, definitely a merchant captain, not military. Unknown vessels, the human said in accented but clear galactic standard. This is Captain Sarah Chen of the merchant vessel Defiant Dawn. We're on a peaceful trading mission. Please identify yourselves. Zexthul laughed, a harsh barking sound. His crew joined in. The human looked nervous, which was exactly what he wanted to see. Human captain, Zexthul replied, making sure his universal translator conveyed the menace in his voice. I am War Captain Zexthul of the HFY pack. You are now surrounded by 6 warships. Power down your engines and prepare to be boarded. On the screen, Captain Chen's face went pale. She turned to speak with someone off camera, then looked back at Zexthul. War Captain, we're just carrying basic trade goods. Medical supplies, farming equipment, nothing valuable. Surely we can reach some agreement. The agreement is simple, human. Surrender now and you and your crew will live. Resist, and we will take your ship anyway, but your bodies will be floating in space. Zexthul watched with satisfaction as the human captain's hands shook slightly. This was going exactly as he expected. Humans were predictable in their weakness. I need a moment to discuss this with my crew, Chen said. You have 5 minutes, Zexthul replied. After that, we start shooting. The transmission ended. Zexthul turned to his tactical officer. Report on their defenses. Minimal, sir. Basic shields, no visible weapons. It's definitely a cargo hauler, probably carrying about 50 crew members. Our sensors show normal power signatures for a ship of that class. And they haven't tried to run? No, sir. They're holding position. Engines are at minimal power. Zexthul nodded. The humans knew they couldn't outrun 6 warships, especially not in a heavy cargo vessel. They were smart enough to realize that surrender was their only option. He had captured dozens of human ships over the years. The routine was always the same. First, they would try to negotiate, offering money or information. When that failed, they would beg. Finally, they would surrender completely, hoping their cooperation would earn them mercy. Sometimes, Zexthul did show mercy. Live humans could be sold as slaves in certain sectors, and a cooperative crew was easier to manage than a dead one. But it depended on his mood and how valuable their cargo was. Sir, the sensor operator called out. I'm reading some strange energy fluctuations from the human ship. What kind of fluctuations? I'm not sure. The readings are unusual, like they're running some kind of internal diagnostics. Zexthul frowned. That was odd. Most merchant captains would be too panicked to run system checks when surrounded by hostile warships. But humans were strange creatures. Maybe this was just their way of dealing with stress. Keep monitoring. If they try anything suspicious, target their engines. The 5 minutes passed slowly. Zexthul's crew remained at battle stations, weapons charged and ready. Through the view screen, the human ship continued to drift peacefully, showing no signs of aggression or attempt to flee. Finally, the communication system chimed. Captain Chen's face reappeared on the screen. She looked resigned but not completely defeated. "War Captain Zexthul," she said. "My crew and I have discussed your terms. We're prepared to surrender, but we have conditions." Zexthul's amusement grew. Even when facing certain death, humans still tried to negotiate. "You're in no position to make conditions, human. We want assurance that our crew will be treated according to Galactic Convention standards for prisoners of war. We also request that any wounded among us receive medical attention." "Agreed," Zexthul said quickly. He had no intention of honoring any promises, but humans seemed to feel better when they had false hope. "Lower your shields and prepare for boarding." "Understood. Defiant Dawn is powering down shields now." The tactical display confirmed it. The human ship's defensive screens flickered and died. They were completely helpless now. "Launch boarding shuttles," Zexthul ordered. "I'll lead the first team personally. I want to see these humans surrender with my own eyes." His crew moved with practiced efficiency. Within minutes, 3 boarding shuttles launched from the Blood Talon and 2 other warships. Each shuttle carried a full squad of armed Kethvar warriors. As his shuttle approached the human vessel, Zexthul studied its hull through the small viewport. The ship was larger than he had first thought, easily 300 meters long. The design was typical human engineering, practical and efficient, but not particularly elegant. Several cargo bays were visible along the ship's sides. "Docking in 30 seconds, his pilot announced. Zexthul checked his weapons one final time. His plasma rifle was fully charged, and his combat armor's systems showed green across the board. Behind him, 11 other Kethvar warriors made similar preparations. The shuttle shuddered slightly as it connected with the human ship's docking port. Atmospheric seals engaged with a soft hiss. "Atmosphere confirmed stable," the pilot reported. "Docking complete." Zexthul stood and moved to the airlock. "Remember, we want the humans alive if possible. They're worth more that way. But if anyone shows resistance, kill them immediately." His warriors growled their acknowledgement. The airlock cycled open, revealing a typical human corridor beyond. Clean, well lit, and completely empty. That should have been his first warning that something was wrong. Zexthul stepped through the airlock into the human ship, his rifle ready. The corridor stretched ahead of them, lit by soft blue lights along the walls. Everything was clean and organized, typical of human design. But something felt wrong. "Where are they?" one of his warriors whispered behind him. The war captain held up a clawed hand for silence. The corridor should have been full of surrendering humans by now. Instead, it was completely empty. Their footsteps echoed strangely off the metal walls. "Spread out," Zexthul ordered quietly. "Check every room. Find the crew." His boarding party split into 3 groups. Zexthul led 4 warriors toward what his tactical display showed as the bridge. The other groups headed toward the crew quarters and engineering sections. As they moved deeper into the ship, Zexthul noticed more strange details. The walls seemed thicker than normal for a cargo vessel. Some of the panels he passed didn't look like standard merchant ship equipment. There were too many power conduits, and they were larger than necessary for a simple hauler. "War Captain," came a voice through his communicator. "Team 2 reporting. The crew quarters are empty, but the beds look like they were recently used." "Team 3 here," another warrior reported. "We found the cargo bays. They're strange." "Strange how?" Zexthul demanded. "They're mostly empty, sir. Just a few containers, but they're locked down with military-grade security systems. That's not normal for trade goods. Zexthol's unease grew. Something was definitely wrong here. Where were the 50 crew members his sensors had detected? And why would a merchant ship have military security on its cargo? His team reached the bridge level. The main door was sealed, but it opened easily when one of his warriors input a basic override code. Inside, they found a typical human bridge layout: command chairs, control stations, and a large view screen showing the surrounding space. But like everywhere else, it was empty. "Sir," one of his warriors called from a console. "I'm reading life signs elsewhere in the ship. 12 humans, all on deck 7. "Only 12? Zexthol frowned. His ship's sensors had shown 50. "Are you certain?" "Yes, sir. 12 humans all grouped together in what looks like a conference room." This was getting stranger by the minute. Zexthol activated his communicator to contact his ship. "War Captain to Blood Talon. Are you still reading 50 life signs on this vessel?" Static answered him, then more static. His communicator was working, but somehow he couldn't reach his own ship. "Team 2, Team 3, report," he called to his other boarding parties. Silence. "All teams, respond immediately." Nothing. One of his warriors pointed at a wall panel that had just lit up. Text appeared on the screen in perfect galactic standard. "Welcome aboard the Defiant Dawn, War Captain Zexthol. Please proceed to Conference Room 7 Alpha. Your host is waiting." The lights in the corridor suddenly changed from blue to red. Somewhere in the distance, blast doors slammed shut with loud metallic bangs. "Sir?" one of his warriors said, his voice tight with fear. "I think we're trapped." Zexthol's mind raced. This was no merchant vessel. The empty corridors, the military security, the jamming of his communications. This was a setup. But what kind of setup? And who was setting the trap? "Move out," he ordered. "We're going to this conference room. But stay alert. This might be an ambush." They made their way through the ship's corridors, following the signs that helpfully pointed toward Conference Room 7 Alpha. More blast doors had sealed behind them, cutting off their escape route to the docking port. Whoever was controlling this ship wanted them to go to a specific place. The conference room door was open when they arrived. Inside, they found a simple meeting table with chairs around it. At the far end of the table sat Captain Sarah Chen, exactly as she had appeared on the view screen. But now she looked different, calmer, more confident. "Please sit down," she said politely, gesturing to the chairs. Zexthol kept his rifle pointed at her. "What is this? Where is your crew?" "My crew is safe," Chen replied. "And this is exactly what it appears to be. A meeting. You wanted to board my ship, so here you are. You're playing a dangerous game, human. My ships will destroy this vessel if I don't report back soon." Chen smiled. It wasn't a pleasant expression. "War Captain, I think you should look at the main display." A wall, screen activated, showing the view outside the ship. Zexthol could see his 6 warships surrounding the Defiant Dawn, just as they had been when he boarded. But something was different about the image. "Computer," Chen said aloud. "Drop the holographic camouflage." The image on the screen shimmered and changed. The Defiant Dawn no longer looked like a simple cargo hauler. Instead, it was revealed as a sleek, dangerous-looking warship. Its hull was dark gray, almost black, with lines that spoke of speed and power. Weapon ports that had been hidden now showed clearly along its sides. More importantly, Zexthol could see that his own ships looked different too. Their energy signatures were wrong. Their positions had shifted slightly. "Those aren't your ships anymore," Chen explained calmly. "Well, they are your ships, but they're not under your control. My ship's AI took control of their systems about 10 minutes ago. Your crews are locked in their quarters and your weapons are offline." Zexthol stared at the screen in disbelief. "Impossible. Kethvar military systems cannot be hacked by human technology." "You're right," Chen agreed. "They can't be hacked by normal human technology. But this isn't a normal human ship, and I'm not a normal merchant captain." She stood up and walked to another console. "Computer, show our guest the ship's real classification." Text appeared on the screen. UES Defiant Dawn, Experimental Warfare Vessel. Classification, Stealth Destroyer. Mission status, active. UES stands for United Earth Systems, Chen explained. I'm Captain Sarah Chen, but my rank is actually Commander Earth Navy Special Operations. This ship is a prototype stealth destroyer designed for one purpose, testing new weapons and tactics against hostile alien forces. Zexthul felt his blood turn cold. You're military. Very military, Chen confirmed. And you just attacked a vessel belonging to Earth's most advanced naval research division. That's not just piracy. That's an act of war against humanity. The war captain looked around at his warriors. They all looked as shocked as he felt. This changed everything. Humans were supposed to be weak, peaceful traders. They weren't supposed to have ships like this, or technology that could take control of Kethvar warships. What do you want? He asked. Chen sat back down at the table. Right now, I want you to sit down and listen. What happens next depends on how well you pay attention. Outside the conference room, Zexthul could hear his communicator crackling, with confused voices. His teams were trying to reach each other, trying to understand what was happening. But he was beginning to realize that none of them understood anything about their situation. Computer, Chen said. Activate Aegis Protocol. A new voice filled the room, artificial but with distinctly human inflections. Aegis online. All systems green. Weapons charged and ready. Shall I begin the demonstration, Commander? Chen looked directly at Zexthul. War Captain, meet Aegis, Autonomous Engagement and Guidance Intelligence System. She's the most advanced military AI humanity has ever created, and she's been looking forward to testing her capabilities against real targets. Confirmed, the AI said. I have been analyzing Kethvar tactical doctrine and weapons technology for the past 15 minutes. I have identified 17 critical weaknesses in their current formation. Shall I exploit them? Not yet, Chen replied. First, our guests need to understand what they're facing. She turned back to Zexthul. You see, War Captain, you made a mistake. You assumed that because humans prefer peace, we're not good at war. But the truth is, we're very good at war. We just choose not to practice it unless we have to. The lights dimmed slightly and weapon charging sounds could be heard through the ship's hull. Unfortunately for you, Chen continued, you just gave us a reason to practice. The main display in the conference room switched to a tactical view showing all 6 Kethvar warships. Red targeting brackets appeared around each vessel as Aegis analyzed their positions and capabilities. Aegis, Commander Chen said calmly. Begin tactical demonstration. Level 1 engagement only. Understood, Commander. Beginning demonstration. Zexthul watched in horror as the display showed his flagship, the Blood Talon, suddenly shudder. Explosions bloomed along its port side as something struck its hull. The ship's shields flickered and died instantly. What did you do? He snarled, half rising from his chair. Sit down, Chen ordered, her voice carrying an authority that made him obey before he realized it. That was a kinetic penetrator round, fired from our main railgun. It traveled at roughly 15% of light speed and carried no explosive warhead. The damage to your ship is minimal. I just wanted to show you that your shields are useless against our weapons. On the display, the Blood Talon was broadcasting emergency signals. Zexthul could see his crew scrambling to restore their defensive systems, but the damage indicators showed that their shield generators had been completely destroyed by the single shot. Your ships use standard energy-based shield technology, Chen continued as if she were giving a lecture. It's very effective against plasma weapons and energy beams, but it does nothing to stop solid projectiles moving at relativistic speeds. Impossible, one of Zexthul's warriors whispered. No, ship can accelerate matter to that velocity. Chen smiled. You're thinking in terms of conventional propulsion. Our railguns use magnetic acceleration combined with gravitic field manipulation. We can launch a small tungsten rod fast enough to punch through a planet if we need to. She gestured to the tactical display. Aegis, show them the railgun specifications. Technical diagrams appeared on the screen, showing the internal structure of the Defiant Dawn. Zexthal could see that nearly 30% of the ship's internal space was taken up by a massive weapon system unlike anything in Kethvar technology. The main gun is 200 meters long, Chen explained. It can fire one round every 3 seconds, and each round carries enough kinetic energy to vaporize a city block. We're currently loaded with armor-piercing rounds, but we also carry explosive shells, EMP warheads, and some more. Exotic ammunition types. Another ship on the display, the Shadow Strike, suddenly went dark. Its engines died, its lights went out, and it began drifting. That was an electromagnetic pulse round, Chen said. Non-lethal, but it just disabled every electronic system on your ship. Your crew is alive, but they're now floating in a powerless metal box. Zexthal felt panic rising in his chest. These weren't the frightened human merchants he was used to hunting. These humans fought like apex predators using weapons that made his own ships look like toys. Aegis, Chen said. Show our guests what happens when we use the gravity torpedoes. Launching gravity torpedo at minimum yield, the AI responded. On the screen, a small projectile launched from the Defiant Dawn and streaked toward the Kethvar cruiser Bone Crusher. When it impacted, something impossible happened. The space around the ship seemed to bend and twist. The cruiser's hull began to crumple inward, as if an invisible giant hand was squeezing it. Localized gravitational distortion, Chen explained, matter-of-factly. The torpedo creates a miniature black hole that exists for exactly 2.3 seconds before collapsing. During that time, it generates approximately 50 times normal gravity in a sphere around the target. The Bone Crusher was being crushed like paper. Its armor, designed to withstand the most powerful plasma cannons, crumpled like foil under the impossible gravitational forces. When the effect ended, the ship was half its original size and completely dead. The crew survives, Chen added. Barely, but the ship will never fly again. Zexthal stared at the destruction in shock. The Bone Crusher had been one of his most powerful vessels, carrying enough firepower to level a space station. Now it was twisted wreckage. How? He whispered. Human engineering, Chen replied simply. We've been studying gravity manipulation for over a century. Most species focus on energy weapons because they're easier to understand. Humans prefer to find new ways to use the fundamental forces of the universe. She stood and walked to another console. Aegis, show them the adaptive missiles. 6 small projectiles launched from the Defiant Dawn, each one heading toward a different Kethvar ship. As Zexthal watched, his remaining vessels opened fire with their point defense systems, trying to shoot down the incoming missiles. The missiles dodged, not in the simple evasive patterns that normal missiles used, but with fluid, unpredictable movements that looked almost alive. When one missile was destroyed by defensive fire, the others immediately changed their approach patterns, learning from their destroyed siblings' failure. Smart missiles, Chen explained. Each one carries its own AI processor and can rewrite its own programming during flight. They learn from each defense attempt and adapt accordingly. Your point defense systems are teaching them how to get through. One by one, the missiles found their targets, but instead of exploding, they simply attached themselves to the Kethvar ship's hulls and began cutting through the armor with focused plasma beams. Boarding missiles, Chen said. They'll cut through your hulls and deploy combat drones inside your ships. Your crews will be captured alive, but your ships will be under our control within minutes. Zexthal's remaining 3 functional ships were now broadcasting surrender signals, but Chen ignored them. The missiles also carry another surprise, she continued. Aegis, activate the neural scramblers. Suddenly, the communications channels from the Kethvar ships filled with confused voices. His crews were reporting strange symptoms, dizziness, confusion, difficulty thinking clearly. Neural disruption fields, Chen explained. Non-lethal, but they interfere with most alien nervous systems. Your crews are alive, but they can't concentrate well enough to operate complex equipment. It's a more humane way to disable a ship than killing everyone aboard. She sat back down at the table and looked directly at Zexthal. So far, War Captain, this has been a demonstration using our non-lethal weapons. Your crews are alive, though some of your ships are damaged beyond repair. But this was just to show you what human military technology is capable of. Zexthol's mouth was dry. What do you want? Right now I want you to understand something very important, Chen replied. Everything I've just shown you represents old technology. The Defiant Dawn is a test ship for experimental weapons. The gravity torpedoes, the rail guns, the smart missiles, these are all prototypes that human engineers built to see if they would work. She gestured to the tactical display, which now showed all 6 HFY ships either destroyed, disabled, or under human control. This isn't even our newest equipment. Earth's main battle fleet uses weapons that make these look like toys, and there are over 3,000 ships in that fleet. The number hit Zexthul like a physical blow. 3,000 ships, each more powerful than anything he had ever seen. It was impossible to comprehend. But here's what I really want you to understand, Chen continued. We don't want to use these weapons. Humans prefer to trade, to explore, to build things rather than destroy them. We only built this military because the galaxy forced us to. She leaned forward, her expression becoming serious. Species like yours, pirates, raiders, slavers, you've been attacking human ships for years, killing our people, stealing our cargo, selling our citizens as slaves. We tried diplomacy. We tried economic pressure. We tried negotiating with your governments. Her voice grew harder. None of that worked, so we decided to send a different kind of message. On the screen, the tactical display zoomed out to show the entire local area of space. Red dots appeared, marking dozens of locations. Every red dot represents a pirate base, slaver depot, or raider hideout within 50 light-years of this position, Chen said. As of today, they're all being visited by ships like the Defiant Dawn. The age of piracy in this sector is ending. Zexthul stared at the display. There were so many red dots, hundreds of criminal operations, some of which he knew. Personally, were all being targeted simultaneously. This is war, he said quietly. No, Chen corrected. This is pest control. The word pest control hung in the air like a death sentence. Zexthul had fought in dozens of battles, had conquered entire star systems, but he had never faced anything like this cold, methodical approach to warfare. You don't understand, he said desperately. Piracy is a way of life for my people. We've been raiders for thousands of years. It's who we are. Commander Chen looked at him with something that might have been pity. And that's exactly the problem. You've built your entire culture around taking things from others. You never learned to create, only to destroy and steal. She gestured to the tactical display where his fleet lay in ruins. Look at your ships, War Captain. They're all stolen technology, aren't they? HFY engineering based on designs you captured from other species. Your weapons, your shields, your life support, none of it is original. Zexthul said nothing because she was right. The HFY had always been raiders. They took what they needed from those they conquered. It was the natural way of things. Humans are different, Chen continued. When we need something, we build it. When we face a problem, we solve it. When someone threatens us, we don't just fight back. We make sure the threat never returns. She stood and walked to a wall panel, which lit up with technical diagrams. Aegis, show our guest the psychological profiles. The display changed to show detailed analysis charts labeled with various alien species names. Zexthul could see his own people listed, along with dozens of other races. We've been studying you, Chen said. All of you. Every pirate species, every raider culture, every aggressive civilization in this part of the galaxy. We know how you think, how you fight, what motivates you. The chart showed behavioral patterns, tactical preferences, and weakness assessments for each species. The level of detail was terrifying. These humans had analyzed their enemies with scientific precision. The HFY, Chen read from the display, are pack hunters who rely on overwhelming force and intimidation. They prefer to attack targets that appear weak and will usually retreat when faced with superior firepower, psychological weakness. They cannot adapt quickly to unexpected situations. She turned to look at Zexthul. That analysis was written 3 years ago. Everything that happened today was predicted and planned for. Impossible, one of his warriors said. You couldn't have known we would attack you. We didn't know you specifically would attack, Chen agreed. But we knew someone would. Human merchant ships have been attacked 847 times in this sector over the past 5 years. We've been waiting for the right opportunity to send a message. Aegis spoke up from the ship's speakers. Commander, I have finished analyzing the boarding team's psychological responses. War Captain Zexthul is experiencing Stage 4 shock and disbelief. His warriors are approaching panic states. Recommendation, proceed to final demonstration phase. Agreed, Chen said. Aegis, show them what happens when we stop being gentle. The tactical display switched to a view of empty space about 10 light minutes away. Suddenly, a massive explosion bloomed in the darkness, not the brief flash of a normal weapon, but a sustained nuclear fire that burned for several seconds. That was a planet, Chen said quietly. An uninhabited rock that we use for weapons testing. Aegis just fired our experimental planet cracker torpedo at it. The explosion faded, leaving nothing behind but glowing debris. An entire world had been reduced to cosmic dust in seconds. The torpedo creates a chain reaction in the planet's core, Chen explained. It's designed for removing uninhabitable worlds that block useful shipping lanes. But it works just as well on space stations, asteroid bases, or any other large target. Zexthul felt his legs give out. He collapsed into his chair, staring at the display where a planet had existed moments before. The scale of destruction was beyond anything he could comprehend. Why? He whispered. Why show me this? Because you need to understand what you're dealing with, Chen replied. This isn't about revenge or conquest. This is about solving a problem. Pirates like you have become a threat to human expansion and trade, so we're removing that threat. She returned to her seat at the conference table. The question is, how do we remove it? We could simply exterminate every pirate in the galaxy. Our weapons are certainly capable of it, but that's not the human way. Chen folded her hands on the table. Humans prefer to give people choices. So here's yours, War Captain. You and your crews can die here today, or you can carry a message back to every pirate, raider, and slaver in the galaxy. What message? Zexthul asked. That the age of easy targets is over. Human ships are no longer prey. They're predators. And we're very, very good at hunting. The display showed a new tactical view, this one covering several star systems. Dozens of human ships were moving through known pirate territories, each one broadcasting the same message on all frequencies. Attention all hostile vessels, came a recorded voice from the speakers. This is the United Earth Systems Navy. As of this date, all attacks on human vessels, stations, or colonies will be considered acts of war against humanity. Surrender immediately or face destruction. Chen gestured to the display. Right now, fleets like mine are visiting every known pirate base in this sector. They're delivering the same ultimatum: surrender and face trial, or resist and be destroyed. Most are choosing to resist, Aegis reported. Pirate Base Theta 7 was destroyed 17 minutes ago when they opened fire on the UES Retribution. The engagement lasted 12 seconds. 12 seconds, Chen repeated. That's how long it took one of our ships to completely destroy a heavily fortified pirate stronghold that had been operating for over 50 years. She looked directly at Zexthul. Do you understand what I'm telling you? This isn't a war. Wars are fought between equals. This is an extermination. But you said you'd give us a choice, Zexthul protested. I am. You can choose to deliver our message to others, or you can choose to die with your ships. Either way, the piracy stops. Chen stood and walked to another console. Aegis, prepare one escape pod. Load it with a complete recording of today's events. Escape pod ready, Commander. Shall I transfer the prisoner? War Captain Zexthul, Chen said, you have 60 seconds to decide. You can take that escape pod and carry word of what happened here to every pirate fleet in the galaxy. Tell them exactly what they saw, show them the recordings, make them understand that humans are no longer easy prey. And if I refuse? Then you die with your ships and Aegis broadcasts the recordings anyway. Your choice doesn't change the outcome. It only determines whether you live to see it. Zexthul looked around the conference room at his warriors. They were all staring at him, waiting for his decision. Outside, his fleet was broken and helpless. Everything he had built, everything he had conquered was already lost. "What about my crews?" he asked. "They'll be taken to Earth for trial," Chen replied. "Some may face execution for their crimes, but others might be given the chance to serve in labor camps or rehabilitation programs. It depends on their individual records." "And my warriors here?" Chen checked a datapad. "All 4 of them have been involved in the murder of civilian populations. Under human law, they face mandatory execution." The warriors snarled and reached for their weapons, but before they could draw them, the air around them shimmered. Some kind of energy field surrounded each warrior, holding them motionless. "Stasis fields," Chen explained. "Another human invention. They'll be unconscious within seconds and will remain that way until we reach Earth." One by one, Zexthol's warriors collapsed, held upright only by the energy fields. In moments, he was alone in the conference room with the human commander. 30 seconds, War Captain," Chen said quietly. "Choose." Zexthol closed his eyes. When he opened them again, his decision was made. "I'll take your message," he said. The escape pod was small and cramped, barely large enough for Zexthol's body. As the airlock sealed behind him, he could see the defiant dawn through the tiny viewport. The human ship looked like a predator waiting to strike, its dark hull gleaming with menace. "Escape pod launched," Aegis announced over the communication system. "Data packet transmitted. Safe travels, War Captain." The pod's engines fired automatically, pushing him away from the human ship and toward the edge of the Terminus Nebula. Behind him, he could see his fleet, or what was left of it. The Blood Talon was still functional but powerless. The Bone Crusher was a twisted wreck. The other ships were either dark and dead or completely destroyed. In the span of less than an hour, the most feared pirate fleet in the sector had been eliminated by a single human vessel. The pod's computer contained everything: video recordings of the battle, technical specifications of the human weapons, tactical analyses of their capabilities. Most importantly, it contained Commander Chen's final message to the galaxy's criminal underworld. As his pod limped toward the nearest inhabited system, Zexthol played the message over and over again, memorizing every word. "To all pirates, slavers, raiders, and other criminal organizations," Chen's voice said calmly. "This recording serves as your only warning. Humanity has tried peaceful coexistence. We have offered trade, diplomacy, and mutual cooperation. You have responded with violence, theft, and murder." The recording showed footage of the battle, the impossible weapons, the casual destruction of ships that had seemed invincible just hours before. Therefore, effective immediately, all attacks on human vessels or colonies will be met with total retaliation. We will not negotiate. We will not show mercy. We will not take prisoners unless they surrender immediately and unconditionally. The image switched to show the Planet Cracker torpedoes demonstration, the entire world vanishing in nuclear fire. "You have built your civilizations on theft and violence. We have built ours on innovation and cooperation. The difference in our capabilities should now be obvious." Chen's face appeared on screen one final time. "Adapt or die. The choice is yours." 3 days later, Zexthol's pod was picked up by a salvage vessel near the Kethvar home system. The salvagers were shocked to find him alive. The destruction of his fleet had already become legendary throughout the criminal underworld. Within hours of his rescue, Zexthol found himself in the chambers of the Kethvar High Council, the ruling body of his species' various clans. The council members listened in stunned silence as he played Chen's recording and described what he had witnessed. "Impossible," declared Council Leader Vorthak. "No single ship could destroy 6 warships so easily." "See for yourself," Zexthol replied, activating the holographic display. The council watched in horror as the human ship systematically demolished, the pirate fleet using weapons that defied everything they knew about warfare. "The gravity torpedo," whispered one council member. "They can manipulate space itself. And their missiles think for themselves," added another. "How do you fight an enemy whose weapons learn from your defenses?" Vorthak studied the tactical data with growing unease. "What do they want from us?" "Nothing," Zexthul replied. That's what makes them so dangerous. They don't want tribute or territory or slaves. They just want us to stop attacking their ships. And if we refuse? Zexthul gestured to the recording of the planet's destruction. Then they kill us all. The council chamber fell silent. For centuries, the Kethvar had been the apex predators of this region of space. They had never encountered a species that could challenge them so completely. How many ships do they have? Asked Vorthok. The human commander mentioned 3,000, Zexthul said. And the ship that destroyed us was experimental, not even their best technology. The number sent a ripple of fear through the chamber. 3,000 ships, each capable of what they had just witnessed, represented a fleet that could conquer the entire galactic sector. But over the following weeks, as similar reports came in from across pirate-controlled space, it became clear that the humans were not interested in conquest. They were only interested in protection. Pirate base after pirate base was destroyed, but only when they resisted. Criminal fleets that surrendered immediately were disarmed and their crews taken prisoner, but the humans showed no interest in occupying territory or claiming resources. The message was always the same: stop attacking human vessels or be destroyed. Within a month, the change was dramatic. Shipping lanes that had been too dangerous for civilian traffic were suddenly safe. Merchant vessels that had required military escorts could now travel alone without fear. The entire balance of power in the sector had shifted overnight. Zexthul found himself in a strange position. As the only survivor of a direct encounter with human military technology, he became a reluctant expert on their capabilities. Other criminal organizations sought him out, wanting to know if the humans could be defeated. His answer was always the same: don't try. He had seen what human engineering could accomplish. More importantly, he had seen the mindset behind it. These weren't conquerors or tyrants, they were problem solvers. And they had identified piracy as a problem that needed to be solved. 6 months after the encounter in the Terminus Nebula, Zexthul received a message on a secured channel. The face that appeared on his screen was familiar: Commander Chen of the Defiant Dawn. War Captain, she said formally. I wanted to thank you for delivering our message so effectively. Pirate attacks on human vessels have decreased by 97% in your sector. What do you want now? Zexthul asked warily. Nothing from you personally, Chen replied. But I wanted you to know that humanity remembers those who choose cooperation over conflict. Your people have honored the terms of our agreement, and we appreciate that. She paused, then continued. There's something else. Earth is establishing a new trade route through your sector. We're looking for local partners to help with navigation and security. If the Kethvar are interested in legitimate business opportunities, we're prepared to offer generous terms. Zexthul blinked in surprise. You want to hire us? Reformed. Pirates often make excellent security specialists, Chen said with a slight smile. You understand the criminal mindset better than anyone. Who better to protect merchant ships from the few raiders who haven't gotten the message yet? It was an offer that would change everything for his people. Instead of living as outlaws and outcasts, they could become partners in legitimate trade. It wouldn't be as exciting as piracy, but it would be safer and more profitable in the long run. I'll speak to the High Council, Zexthul said. Good. And War Captain? Thank you for making the right choice that day. It saved a lot of lives, including your own. The transmission ended, leaving Zexthul alone with his thoughts. Outside his window, he could see Kethvar merchant ships preparing for legitimate trading missions, flying alongside human vessels in a cooperation that would have been impossible just months before. The age of piracy was truly over. But perhaps, for species willing to adapt, something better was beginning. In the depths of space, the Defiant Dawn continued its patrol, carrying humanity's message to any who would listen. Earth was no longer prey. It had become the galaxy's newest apex predator, and it was reshaping the rules of survival for everyone. The humans had proven something that no other species had managed. Sometimes the best way to end a war was to be so overwhelmingly superior that fighting became pointless. And in doing so, they had created something unprecedented in galactic history: peace through absolute strength, enforced not by tyranny, but by the simple promise that those who chose violence would face consequences they could not survive. The galaxy was learning to fear humanity. But more importantly, it was learning to respect them. And that, Commander Chen knew, was the beginning of true civilization.